Kupfull with Kennedy Marie. This is another Zoom session interview, as you guys can see. And I have a special guest. I have the leadership development expert, Kaderick Jones, who is also my uncle. So I thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So we were talking the other day, and you were saying that leadership is your passion. That's something that just it's like second nature to you. It just comes to you naturally. And so, how do you think entering the corporate world? How do you think that exposed that gift and passion to you?
Yeah, it really it really made it more intense. I've always been thrown into a leadership capacity in one way or another, whether I knew it or not. Um, one of the greatest quotes I've heard about leadership is John Maxwell's quote: "Is that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." So I've always had influence in people's lives, um, and then when I got into corporate America, I'm about to age myself. You can see already with this gray in my face. When I got into corporate America about 24 years ago, uh, it changed my whole world. Actually, 23 years ago, it changed my whole world because I understood and I saw people being leaders, and I knew that that was something that I wanted to do to be able to change people's lives through my influence. And so that really excited my passion for being a leader.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I'm glad that you were exposed to that and just able to fall into your path. So another thing that you kind of mentioned is the diversity. And so
Mhm.
that's another thing when I think of like corporate America, I just think about the different people you have to interact with. So how do you think the diversity has changed since you've been there? And then were there any adjustments you had to make being a black male in the corporate America?
Yeah, so I answer that in two ways, yes and no. So diversity is something that you're going to come into contact with. You have to work with all kinds of people from different walks of life and different personalities and different attitudes, different perspectives. And so it was challenging walking in that when I first came in, because remember when I came into corporate America, people in the top positions didn't look like me.
Yeah,
And then I began to sit back and observe, and I say, okay, what's the problem here? Why can't we? Because I feel like the people who are doing the work are more intelligent. And I hated to say it, more intelligent. Well, I don't hate to say it. Well, more intelligent than the people who were actually in leadership,
mm,
because the people in leadership, they were there because of privilege, right? It was
right.
because of people that they know. Because when you sit down and listen to them talk, it was because of people that know. And so one of the things that I had to learn, and I had to sit back and observe and find out what was the disconnect. What is preventing this? And so some of it was racial. And we can't put our head in the sand and deny that. Some of it was racial, but some of the racial inequalities came by perception. Let me explain what I meant by that. Because people can perceive you a certain way because of how they have historically seen people like you, right? And so when people walk in the door off the street coming to corporate America, acting like what people have perceived,
Mm-hmm.
and it begins to say, "See, I told you." And so there was a group of us, African American males and females, who we would congregate together, and we made the decision that we were going to make a difference. We were going to change the narrative. We weren't going to be that one that's coming in late all the time. We weren't going to be the one who would half do their job, and that we were going to really do our job with excellence. And we did. to the extent to where you know it created other opportunities for us. Maybe not within that company, but it
Right.
created other opportunities for us outside of that particular organization and company. And so for me, I had to make an adjustment, not to adjust who I am, because who I
Right.
am is who I am at the core, but
Mm-hmm.
I had to make an adjustment in showing the different aspects of who I am. Don't just look at me because of the color of my skin or where I came from. I'm going to show you that we as a people are multifaceted. We're not just, you can't just put us in a cookie cutter situation and put us in a box. We different. We
Mm-hmm.
multifaceted. We can adjust and adapt in whatever environment you put us in. You know, and so our, I think our history has molded us that way to where we it's not that we're a chameleon. You know, we're just able to adapt well. So some people come in the door and they lose themselves and they change who they are. They try to let the culture shift them instead of them shifting the culture.
Definitely, definitely. I'm glad that you kind of realized that in the way that y'all kind of work together and recognize what kind of environment y'all were in and able to adjust, but not adjust yourself, you know?
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, that's really good because I think sometimes it can be intimidating, especially when you're definitely the minority in the room. And so that's great. So, with you being a leadership expert, you see college students coming in fresh out of college, employees wanting to work for you, and so what do you emphasize to these type of employees when they're entering corporate America?
One of the things I emphasize to people is that you are responsible for your own success. You know, people can open doors for you, but you have to be hungry enough to get it, right?
Hmm.
You're responsible for your own success. You don't expect people to hand you the opportunity. You find the opportunity to, number one, serve, because people who promote quickly are people who know how to serve and make themselves available to do what other people won't do. And
Right.
when I say that, I don't mean lower your standard. I don't mean, giving it up, to go up. So
Hmm.
it's not that, but you have to be willing to say, hey, vote for me. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do something, even though it doesn't change my pay grade, even though it doesn't change how much I'm getting paid or my title. I go in, do the work, because what that does is it puts me in front of people. There's a scripture in the Bible, and I'm getting biblical,
No.
because there's a scripture in the Bible says your gift will make room for you and
Mhm.
bring you in the presence of great men. And so if I have the skill and the ability to do it, if I have the insight and the wisdom to know how to get it done, then I make myself available, even though it doesn't change my title or my pay grade. And it puts me in front of people who would have never known who I was before I stepped into that capacity, even when I'm volunteering.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I like this
Yeah.
advice that you giving out. So we're gonna take a break and it's
Okay.
game time with K
Okay.
Marie.
I love games.
So, you being in corporate, I decided to incorporate The Office, which is one of my favorite shows, into our game time. So, basically, well, the game is in The Office, and so I just have some scenarios that came from episodes on The Office, and we're just gonna really analyze and figure out is this really acceptable, in the
Okay.
corporate world.
Okay.
So the first episode, so Dwight, you know who Dwight is. Dwight
Yes.
came in and he decided to have his own fire drill. And so he locked all the doors around and like he started a fire and had everyone locked inside the office. So yeah, it was crazy. People were panicking, they threw things out the window. So I just want to know, is this really acceptable in the workplace?
That is unacceptable. By the way, I love The Office. I can sit there and watch it for hours upon hours. Yeah,
Yes,
but that is unacceptable because you put people's lives at risk, and not only if something happened, not only will you be held accountable, but the company will be held accountable. So yeah,
hmm
it's unacceptable.
definitely, definitely sounds like a lawsuit behind that
Right.
one. Another another episode was where they decided to have office Olympics. So I think Jim was just bored out his mind one day and they decided to have office Olympics, and so they had different things incorporating, the office supplies, and they had a whole ceremony, everything. So is this something that you could really get away with, having office Olympics?
Yes, that is acceptable
Okay.
because what when you're doing the same thing every day, you have to find a way to take a load off and just relax, because you can't take everything so serious, and you have to have fun at work. But you can have fun at work without crossing the line. So
Yeah.
Office Olympics, I think that's acceptable.
Okay. Cool. 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 Okay, so we're gonna talk about Prison Mike. I don't know if you ever heard about Prison Mike, but Prison Mike came to visit the office because people in the office thought that prison was better than being in the corporate setting, and so he was being very stereotypical in his Michael the boss, he was being very stereotypical in acting out Prison Mike. So would you think that would be acceptable for someone to just come in and just, turn into something and try to portray another person?
No, that is unacceptable. That's a microaggression, and that's racism.
Yeah,
And you will find yourself in HR quickly, and
gotcha.
especially if the company lets you get away with it. That's unacceptable.
Hmm. Okay, I'm just asking questions here. The basketball episode. So they decided to have a basketball game against the warehouse downstairs. And of course, Michael the boss was thinking that the black man was gonna be, their star player and everything, and it turns out he wasn't. But would that be something that be acceptable, having like I don't know, like a secret basketball game in like some type of warehouse or something?
Well, I think that is kind of acceptable because it brings about a teaching moment,
Hmm.
because it gives you the opportunity to let you know that we're not all the same. Just because our skin color is the same, that means that all of us function the same. Because I'm that dude. I love basketball. I love watching basketball, but
Hmm.
you don't want to pick me up in a game
Yeah.
unless you need somebody to go in the third quarter and foul just so you can get ahead. Because I foul the heck out of somebody, but I cannot play. I can't shoot. I can barely dribble, so yeah.
Okay, okay. So we know, not in the office setting, they shouldn't choose you as the star player. It's the
Not
secret
at all.
weapon.
Not at all. Now, if you want a kickball player, then I play that. But
You got
basketball,
that,
I'm
but
not
not
that dude.
basketball.
Not that dude.
Okay, got you. Another thing, Michael, well, I guess this is kind of like something that he does. He says that's what she said to everything. He makes sure he catch it every single time. And just being in a corporate setting, would that be acceptable to just have that saying under your belt?
No, no, no. Now, people in office settings, it really depends on your relationship, right? If you if you have somebody that you jive with quite a bit, and that might be cool, if y'all
Hmm.
have that type of relationship that's developed. But you don't ever want to take it for granted, because you walk around saying that's what she said. Sexual harassment. That's
Yeah,
unacceptable.
definitely, definitely unacceptable. Okay, so so Christmas parties, let's talk about Christmas parties here.
Okay.
So in the office it gets crazy, like they get crazy wasted in the office during Christmas, and I think one time Meredith got set on fire. It's just a lot of stuff going on. And so in your Christmas party, is are y'all allowed to like really just bring drinks and just turn up and have a good time?
Yeah, well, we actually do, and we have them off site,
Okay.
right? We have them off site, and sometimes they allow you to bring a plus one. And but those are times where I, because I just sit back and observe.
Mhm.
I ain't put no liquor in me around people that I work with because I don't want to get nobody any ammunition to say anything. But I'm
Mhm.
gonna sit back there. I'm gonna people watch. I'm gonna scope you out. I'm gonna see what do you do and how do you respond when you lose.
Mhm. And you gonna take notes. Take
I'm gonna
take
take
mental
notes.
notes.
I say, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
got you.
Got it. Got it. So another episode is so Dwight became boss at Dunder Mifflin, and he got a holster in. He got a holster as a gift from I think his uncle or cousin, and he decided to put a gun in it, and the gun fired off inside the office. And I just want to know, is this really acceptable?
Not unless you're working for a security firm, but
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 in the
no,
corporate
no,
though.
corporate America, it is not acceptable. Even in states where you got open carry, ain't nobody walking in there, like they from the streets carrying them
Hmm.
on a holster. No, this is not the Wild Wild West.
Not at all. Not at all. This is 2020. We don't need
Yeah,
anyone coming in with holsters. Definitely.
right.
Okay, so another episode is when Michael lied to the whole office about getting bonuses, and so everybody thought that they had bonuses on the way. And yeah, and they were upset. Well, they were excited at first, of course, looking forward to the bonus until the end of the day when they found out they weren't. So would this likely be acceptable for a boss to just come in there and be like, "Hey, you get a bonus, you get a bonus, you get a bonus," just making a
Not unless you want a mutiny, not unless you want somebody to come
right.
and overthrow your office and lower your productivity. You don't tell nobody you're gonna get a bonus and you don't. Matter of fact, we we had a situation last year where we were all expecting, a raise, and because they told us they changed the way they do that evaluation and everything, and you get your raise based upon your evaluation, and they turned around and they gave everybody the same percentage of a raise,
Mm.
and boy, you know. Everybody called in sick the next day.
And nobody want to come to work.
Right, right. But that's dangerous too. But they understood why it happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so last episode, last scenario. So, Michael, when he met the love of his life, Holly, and they started dating for the second time around, there was a lot of PDA, and it was bothering everyone in the office. Just really all lovey-dovey and all close, and just all up in each other's bubble. And so PDA, is that something like, well, let me say Michael and Holly's PDA. Is that something that's acceptable in corporate?
No,
Not at all.
not at all. Now people do it, get away with it, but
Hmm.
not acceptable. Because if you get caught, because yeah, it's not acceptable.
Not acceptable at all.
Uh-uh.
Okay, well, I'm just checking. So that was the game time called In the Office. So I hope you enjoyed it. And so for anybody who hasn't seen The Office, I guess that was kind of confusing. But if you are a fan of The Office like I am, I'm pretty sure that was
Yeah,
pretty hilarious, and I love that show. So
I
shout out
love
to
it.
yes. Okay, so getting back into the questions, so I definitely want to consider you on my podcast, and you were one of the people who encouraged me to start my podcast. I just want to talk about the world of podcasting because it has grown and it has shifted. And I feel like that you came before your time back in 2010 when you had something that would be considered a podcast on YouTube. And so, how do you think it shifted in this decade?
Yeah, it shifted, and yeah, I actually had my own podcast, and it's definitely shifted a whole lot since
Yeah.
then. I used to do two shows a week. I would do one called Throwback Thursday.
Hmm.
I would do it every Thursday, and I would do another one called Awareness Wednesday. Awareness Wednesday was about sex and sexuality. Throwback Thursday was where I just come in and I would talk about things from my past and how to make them apply to, inspirational things in real life.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, I created Throwback Thursday, just in case you don't know that.
Okay. We're
People
gonna
don't
give you
know
the
that.
credit.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I created Throwback Thursday. If you go back, because wasn't nobody doing Throwback Thursday,
No, it
in
wasn't.
2010,
Mm-mm.
but I may not have created, but I was the one that made it a hit. So
Gotcha.
when you go back and look at the hashtags historically,
Mhm.
you'll begin to see, because I
That
used
you
to
was there
have fun.
first.
Yeah, I was there first. Yeah. So so yeah, it's changed a whole lot because we didn't have this technology now. Now we had Skype, but we didn't have Skype in the way that you could record it and
Mhm.
publish it and everything. YouTube, it was out there, but you didn't have it to where you because at the end of monetization didn't come in until like in 2011 2012, where
Yep.
you can monetize your content and make it available. And when I was doing the awareness Wednesday, talking about sex and sexuality, at that time I couldn't put on there or rate it to make sure that some people would know that it's not acceptable for children. But
Mm.
now YouTube requires it.
Yeah, they do.
uh and there now it's where you can connect from a distance,
Hmm.
and you could be live on the air. And we didn't have Facebook Live, we didn't have the live platforms that you have for
Yeah.
YouTube and Instagram. We didn't have all those platforms, and so we had to record. And at the time, in order to edit our videos and record, you know if you had a Windows based platform, you either had uh, uh, what was it called? Windows Movie Maker,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Hmm.
that you would have to go in and edit your stuff. And it took hours for that stuff to render
Hmm.
and update. But
Oh
now,
yeah.
man, you can go in, you can edit on your phone
On your
and
phone.
put your logo and everything on there and upload that thing, and man, it uploads just like that. But for me, man, I would have to record my Throwback Thursday on Tuesday and then go in edit it because it took a while to edit it and put
Hmm.
everything in it and then upload it on Wednesday night in order to make sure it was available
On
to
Thursday.
see on Thursday. And so
Wow.
technology has changed a lot. It's changed a lot. And if
This
I
it
wanted to have a
definitely
yeah, if I wanted to
is.
have a guest, they had to come where I was.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
so it
So
was
yeah, it has changed. So I just wonder where would Kupfull be without Zoom session right now
I
during this
know, right?
pandemic? So I do appreciate it. But yeah, I was definitely wanted to know like the tools, like what tools do you think you lack? And you're talking about the live and just the streaming and everything, being able to reach out to different people just all over. And I think that just podcasting is at it's at its peak right
Yeah.
now. It's
And I
all
am
over.
proud of you. How many episodes do you have so far?
I have 17. So this
17.
will be the 18th episode.
Cool. I'm number
So yes.
18.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Now, when will you be a year? Will it be a
I
year?
will be a year in November.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, we got
Cool.
a couple months. So yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Good deal.
yeah, but I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So another thing definitely want to talk about is traveling because that's something that I think you could talk about all day considering all the trips you've been on. And
Yeah.
that's just something that I have on my bucket list. Like I have places that I want to travel and just experience. But I feel like everyone should have that as a goal just because you get to embrace the cultures and get to interact with different people that you might have never, come in contact with. So I
Yeah.
just want to ask you, how do you think traveling in all the places you've been has changed your perspective on life?
Oh man, it has changed my perspective a whole lot.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in the military, of course, I traveled, and had the opportunity to go to some amazing places. Most of the places I went were down in the Caribbean, and so I loved it there. Man, those were my single days. You saw my eyes roll back in my head for a minute. But man, I enjoyed traveling there. And then at the end of my time in the military, I had the chance to go to a Northern European tour. Got a chance to go to Aruba. Got a chance to go to Puerto Rico. I love Puerto Rico. By the
Really?
way, I love Puerto Rico. That was the first time I realized that uh, uh, Latin culture it was as diverse as it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went to Mall of America in Puerto Rico, and I saw these Puerto Rican women, and they were all different shades.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Jesus. No, let me stop. Uh, but man, I loved Puerto Rico. And then since I've been out of the military, I had a chance to go to India.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was Northeast India. It's right on the border of Bhutan. And so I had a chance to go to India. And, I've been all over the US. And I like traveling, but
Yeah.
because most of my travel in the US was for my job, it
Mm-hmm.
got old real quick.
Yeah.
But the thing that I loved is that I had a chance to meet people in different cultures that I didn't get a chance to, because you'll find that even in the US, the culture changes when you go into different states. And even in different states, when you go into different parts of those states, the culture is different. And um, uh, over in Europe, people have this misconception about Europe. People have this misconception about India.
Yeah.
But when you go there, those places, it changes and opens up your world. And so I encourage everybody, get you a passport.
Yep.
Get you a passport, find somewhere where you want to go, plan for it, and save your money and go, because it changes your world. It changes your
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. So definitely when outside open back up, I want
Yes,
y'all to
I
travel.
know.
You kind of take it for granted because it's just at your disposal. But
Yeah,
you got time to
yeah,
save
yeah.
now and just plan.
Yeah. And then another thing that I enjoy is the food. The various
Mm-hmm.
the food, you get a chance to try things that you never would have tried,
Yeah.
because when I went to Europe, went to this place called Estonia. And so I was in this Russian restaurant, and I ate, watch this, smoked eel,
Mm.
but it was
It was
good.
good. It
It
was
was
good.
Yeah, so you try other things. So you expose yourself to other stuff.
So yeah, and it definitely just creates a more open mind about everything and just about life. So yeah, I 10 out of 10 recommendation that everybody go travel, just set you a list and just go for it, definitely. So one last thing I want to talk about is I know that you have a passion, another passion that you have is for reading. That is something that
Yeah.
you invest in and you open a book and you just there. You're satisfied or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to read a quote to you from Frederick Douglass. I wanted to know how you feel about it. And so the quote says that once you once you learn to read, you will forever be free. And so I just want to know, how does this resonate with you, being that you love to read in just the positions that you are in today?
Yes, reading has played a major part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I started enjoying reading. Now I'm gonna take you back a little bit. When I got in the military, what happened for me, I was dealing with some addictions.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be free from these addictions. And so what I did is I had to learn how to read to find out information on how to get free.
Yeah.
And so and so putting those things into practice, learning how to read, getting that information, it changed my life. It changed my life, and it also equipped me to help other people who were going through some things. Even though I don't have the education, I don't have the certificate that tells me I have the ability to help people. I know that I have the ability to help people because I know what I've read and I
Right.
know that it's worked for me. And so, uh, my favorite book to read is the Bible. I'm a pastor,
Mhm.
uh, but I also like reading anything on leadership, whether it's articles or anything. And being able to read those books really changed my whole world because even though I don't have a college education, because I read, people would not know that I didn't have a college education because I've learned a lot.
Mhm.
And I have what Rene Descartes calls empirical knowledge. Empirical knowledge is where you learn by observing and reading and putting it into practice. And so, reading really does open up opportunities to you that you would never have an opportunity to receive. And it really frees you. It takes restrictions off of you because reading can take you to some places that you never
Mhm.
thought you would be able to go because it really
Right.
changed me to where it made me realize that it's not my skin color that limits me.
Mhm.
It's my imagination that limits me. And when I read, it opens up my imagination to take me into places. And so I say, okay, if that can happen there, I can do that.
Right.
I can make that happen. I
Mhm.
can change that. I can impact that. And reading did that for me. Reading did that, and it did it, by God giving me the ability to interpret what I read. Because some people just read just to read. But when you have the ability to interpret what you read and then make it apply to your life today, it
Mhm.
changes the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure that on top of all that, you just gain that confidence about yourself and what
Yeah.
you know and what you can offer to other people. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so yeah. So I'm guessing that you recommend that everyone read and just let it let it happen and see
Yeah.
what it's gonna do for
And
you.
and I would say because a lot of times people, if they want to learn, they go to YouTube, you
Mhm.
know, or go Google. But don't just watch the videos and hear what people say and take them at their word. You go and you read it for yourself, study
Mhm.
it for yourself, and that's how you learn.
Definitely, definitely. And that's one thing that I emphasize on here. You know, if there's a passion or just an occupation or just something that you're passionate about, do the research, look for the people who are also in that field and go for it. So definitely. So it just ties all back around. But I want to thank you, Uncle Kaderick, for
Mhm.
coming on to my podcast today as a leadership development expert. I appreciate you and I hope that you enjoyed the show today.
I did. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, yes, no problem. So, you guys, that has been your cupful, your Monday cupful. I hope that everyone is safe, doing well, quarantining. Y'all see, I'm in the house, so I hope you guys are in the house too, staying motivated and grinding. And I'll see you guys on the next cupful.